This thing on? We live? We live,
Yeah.
Nicholas?
Took a minute there. That was weird.
Two things. One, I learned how to crochet today.
Wow.
Yeah, I am a girl dad,
Yes, that's true.
and I got my daughter a birthday gift because she loves stuffed animals and stuffies. And so I got this thing that I thought we could do together, but crocheting is a bitch, and not something a 6-year-old can do. So I'm going to have to crochet this little dinosaur by myself. But I got to say, quite good at it, Nicholas. But
Wow. Quite
the
good at it. Jeez.
you know what? It's nice and tight so far. What I've done. But the other thing I want to say, I welcome back from your swingers weekend.
Jesus.
I hope that the pineapples were fresh and that you had a good time, and nothing is too sore upon your reentry into this week. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all ages, the Dork Shared Gooniverse and Geeks Worldwide Radio proudly present to you the greatest, and I mean the greatest. And don't you ever forget that TLDR is the greatest podcasting team in the world. He's a free swinging Nick Friar. I'm your friendly neighborhood backcracker, Dr. Joe, and together we are the TLDR Comic Book Club, baby. How's it going, Nicholas?
Well done, sir. Well done. That was a
Yeah.
great one. I'm doing very well. Had a nice time in the Empire State over the weekend. Enjoyed
New
myself. Did
York.
mix in a little bit of reading. I had a good time there, and I had to catch up on something specific, which I'll get to a little bit later. But the reason why is because we have a Friar Side chat coming your way, everybody. And I only say specifically, we have that coming guaranteed. We already have it in the can. Joe and I, we're doing our stream a little bit late for those who watch us on YouTube or maybe Instagram Live now or over on Twitch. I'm sorry, Twitter. We're not on Twitch anymore because we're doing IG Live. But the only place you can find any Friar Side chats are on our audio channels. So we're talking Apple, Spotify, Geeks Worldwide Radio. Why am I blanking on the other ones? I always want to say Stitcher, but it's not around anymore. Amazon Music, Pocket Cast, all those places. The only places you can find are Friar Side chats, and those are our conversations with creators across the industry. Generally, it's writers, but lately we've had a lot of creative teams on, and I know quite a few times it's been like writing pairs, but this time we have one writer and one artist. And if you're watching us right now, you could take a guess who it is based on my background, but we had quite the pair on, Joe, and quite the conversation with who?
Well, the last half dozen chats we've done have all been with multiple people on. We had John Lee's returning, but we had his equally twisted partner and artist Alex Cormack, younger brother to the world famous Uncle Buck, on the show. And man, those guys are great. I love having John on. Alex was absolutely fantastic, and we learned something more and more about John and why he's twisted every time he comes on. But Alex, man, like we asked him, how do you sleep at night with the imagery that is running through your head? It was a great chat. We talked about their current Kickstarter campaign for their upcoming issues 12 and 13 of the Sync series. So make sure we've been tweeting it out, the links to the Kickstarter. Go back it. If you're new to it, get caught up. They make it very affordable and very easy for you to get caught up with that series. You can get physical copies, digital copies, whatever you want. Sync is, as we know it, is the greatest horror book that we've read. And Alex Cormack received the 2023 floppy for best artist. So says some high praise there.
He's an unbelievable horror artist, and John is an unbelievable horror writer. And you're right; like we got some great insight on, and not just issues 12 and 13, but just Sync in general, and how there's some personal stuff for John in there. We found out more about the blue van story with him because he shared some insight about that in the past. And I was reminded that it was like an actual like legend in Glasgow. But then Alex enlightened to us there's a little bit more to that story, which is very interesting to hear.
Yeah, we also learned about John's grant too.
Yes,
right? Like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
That's very true.
So wild stuff, awesome stuff. So make sure when that drops, you subscribe to our audio channels, listen to that. It's a treat. We had a great time as always.
I'll do you one better. Go subscribe to the audio channel right now, so that way when it drops, you won't have to try and figure out
Yeah.
when it is. Just go subscribe to the audio channel right now. And while you're there, leave a 5-star rating and review, the highest rating that you can possibly leave the show, whatever that is. Please do it. Otherwise, you're going to learn the real meaning of Backtracker, and you're going to fuck up Joe's weekend. And in turn, you're going to fuck up my weekend. Then you're going to learn really how pissed off I can get. But in all seriousness, some awesome stuff there. And on the note of Kickstarter too, I do want to mention the one that I am involved in as well. The Scott Snyder presents the Cloakroom, the anthology series, is the first issue. There has been Scott Snyder stuff from his writing class in the past. This is the rebranding of the series, and I'm involved in it. I actually have the first story in there, Widowmaker. You guys, for those who if you're familiar with the name Uncle Buck, you're probably familiar with #Dork. Rich Keefe talked about it a little bit recently. Wes and I talked about it on Change My Mind a little bit recently. Joe, I know you've gotten a chance to look at the pages, and I do want to hear what you have to say about Nayara Rodriguez's artwork. But just a quick log line for those who aren't familiar, haven't necessarily backed the Kickstarter campaign. The log line here: a biker queen ascends to empress as she finally removes the organization's long festering virus, her husband. So again, that is the first story in this anthology. It's an 8-page story. Again, Widowmaker is the title. You've gotten a chance to look at Nye's art. What did you think?
Well, first I thought I was shameless. Look at you, just so you're hogging up all our time here.
I
You're
know.
plugging yourself. No, seriously. I said this last week, and I'll say it again today. Nayara's artwork is really A+ stuff. It is, to me, I get vibes of Dan Mora. I get vibes of
Danielle
Dead.
DiNicuolo.
Yes, exactly. It's just there's a beauty to it. There is just this sort of grand scale to her art. She has some details. Just whether I talk about this all the time. For me, what makes a great comic book artist is not just sort of the look and the feel and all of that, but so much can be derived from a character's eyes. And we get this a lot from Werther Dell'Edera through Something Is Killing the Children, because a lot of those characters are wearing masks. So if you can evoke some sort of emotional response just by looking into the character's eyes, you've really done something as an artist. And there's some panels that you sent me that are just sort of like just make you pause and go, fuck, that is awesome, right? So as a comic book artist goes, she's got it, and she's just starting, so she's just going to get better.
Yeah.
Which is saying something. And your writing's not half bad either, Nick.
Thank you.
So
I appreciate that.
I've backed it. Everyone else should go back. This is fully funded already, but the more you
Yes.
back it, the more stretch goals they'll add. I think Scott is adding some signed copies as a stretch
Yes.
goal.
There's a limited amount of those. So for anybody who
Yeah.
wants Scott's signature, he's also got a forward in this, which I'm very excited about. And they are going to be announcing some goals. I'm glad you mentioned, Joe, that it is fully funded. And the reason I want to keep bringing it up for everybody is that I want people to read it. I mean, I think that they're going to have a good time getting to know Camille Tyler. You guys have already seen her in some capacity. She is badass, and she's rather unforgiving in a lot of ways and very calculated. So I just can't wait for everybody to experience her. And you mentioned perks and stretch goals and everything. This hasn't been announced yet, Joe. But we got these cool stickers that may or may not have to do with the story that Nye and I have put together, and looks pretty badass. I might have to hook you up with one just for all this plugging that you're doing.
I'm a known plugger.
Yes.
Speaking of which, we talked a lot about plugging in our chat with John Lees and Alex Cormack.
Yes,
so
that's why I assumed you're doing so much of that.
just get right up there.
But before, moving on from that, before we get into catching up, we have one last thing. We found out that Tom Taylor's run on Nightwing is going to be coming to an end. We're getting one more arc starting with issue 114. I've been reading Nightwing this whole since Rebirth, and I even read Kyle Higgins' run a long while back and everything. But for you hopped on when Tom Taylor took over, and I know how much you've loved this. You've kind of talked about how the way he writes Nightwing is akin to the way Chip writes Daredevil. I gotta imagine the news for you is pretty hard to hear that it's coming to an end.
Yeah, it sucks, to be quite honest with you, because I think when it's all said and done, he'll have done a total of 40 issues.
Hmm.
And I think Chip did close to 40 issues with the initial Daredevil run, and then there was the event, and then he came back and did another. So not that many more than what Taylor's done, and I get it, right? Like you have a story in mind, you want to tell it. Tom's telling his story. It sounds like he and Bruno are very satisfied with where the story's been and what this last arc's going to be. I wish it was going a little bit long because I feel like there's more to tell. Like
Hmm.
the thing the one gripe I have is that we get all this heartless stuff in the beginning, and then there was other stories that he told, and we got kind of pulled into events, and now we're ending with heartless. So I know it won't be this way because Tom's an excellent writer and he knows how to tidy things up and pull things together and wrap things up. But I could have used a little bit more heartless,
Mm.
right? Throughout, because
Fair.
we had the whole, the pirate stuff and all that, which was great, and it was fantastic storytelling. But it felt like Heartless had sort of disappeared for large chunks, and now we're sort of getting the ending of that within this last 5-issue arc. So that's my only gripe. And maybe I'm just saying that because I don't want it to end because Tom has done such a great job
That's fair.
with this character. He's made me care more about this character than I ever have. And that's what Chip did with Daredevil. So it's bittersweet because Tom's got lots of other stories to tell with different characters, and he's going to bring that sort of insight and passion to whatever he's doing next. So, yeah, it sucks on one hand, but it's been a hell of a ride and very
Yeah.
enjoyable in the other.
Quite a long ass ride too for him. I mean, it really, in like the
Yeah,
modern day of comics. I mean, I think just in general, like
yeah,
to hop on at 70, and then his final story is going to be starting with like his final arc is starting with 114. So if he basically go to 120, 119, whatever. Math is not our strong suit on this program, so that's pretty damn impressive. Some
yeah.
some awesome stuff there.
Yeah,
As
we
much
can't
as
complain. We really can't complain about it. It's been a hell of a run. I don't like to see things end.
Yeah, of course. But what you're saying, I think, is you're making some very fair points. Even if emotion is driving some of it, because I see totally what you're saying. But we got to get to the books that are out this week, Joe. But before we do that, we got to get to catching up. For me, the one thing that I've been catching up on was the nasty that was ahead of our conversation with John. And now you and I are ahead of everybody because we've gotten an early look at the nasty too. We did have a little bit of a conversation with John about that, so you guys will hear more about that on our Friar Side chat. But you've been doing quite a bit catching up.
Well, the Corona Kid was out last week, so
Oh, that's right.
I got some books to read. Although I read most of these really in a day. So I caught up on a ton. I caught up on Petrolhead issues 3 and 4. Excellent series. Subgenre. This is a Matt Kint book. This book is trippy as hell.
Oh, damn
Right.
it! I've been because neither of us called dibs on that, and I kind of wanted to check it out. Fuck you call him dibs?
Read it. Go ahead and read it because I don't
Okay,
know if I can fully articulate an issue on it. That's how it's awesome, but it's trippy. Go
all right,
go get caught up.
cool,
Read it. It's excellent.
cool. Thank you.
Luke Cage, issue 3, written by friend of the show, Rodney Barnes.
Mm,
The Bloody Dozen, issues 2 and 3. This has been a great sort of vampire, sort of sci-fi series that I read the first issue, loved, and got all caught up on that. Edenwood, issue 4. What a
mm,
fucking issue that was,
hmm.
written by Tony Daniel.
Before you go
Um,
any further, I do want to note everybody, Edenwood, right? Tony Daniel, he's the artist and the writer, and obviously he's done a ton of work at DC and elsewhere. He also Noctera, which is an
mhm.
important book for us. But the letterer on that series is Nathan Kempf. He is also my letterer in Widowmaker, so I do just want to mention that.
Bringing it back to you. Gee, it's my time to talk, Nicholas.
Yeah,
Fall of the House of X, issue 2, right? Again, anything X-Men right now is fucking flames, man. It is
sorry.
awesome. And then Killmore, issue 3. This is a book I did call dibs on, I believe. This is
Yeah.
great because this is sort of like, when I talked about Nailbiter, right? Nailbiter sort of revolves around like all these serial killers are sort of like
Yeah.
come from this town. Well, Killmore is a story where all of a sudden all these serial killers are just showing up. And the idea is like, well, if we all go there, we all start killing people. they can't catch us because they won't know what the fuck's going on, right? Right? There's a complete randomness to it. So there's a great detective story here. The serial killer stuff. There's some really twisted killers in this series so far. So that's what I caught up on, a bunch there. All books that I mildly fallen behind on that I'm glad that I had that time to sort of get caught back up on because they're all excellent.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that is quite the pile there, and good week to catch up on stuff. There are definitely quite a few titles, but for us, I feel like it's a little bit of a lighter week in terms of what we're reading. But let's start off with Marvel.
Marvel. So we have Ultimate Spider-Man issue
Oof,
2. First
oof,
issue was excellent. Whenever the holidays fall on Monday, it takes us a little
mm.
bit to get a review copy. So I haven't had a chance to read any Marvel books yet.
Torture.
Um, it is because I loved the first issue of Ultimate Spider-Man. We have X-Force issue 49, Daredevil issue 6, which again, right? Remember, I was a little nervous, no more
Mm,
Chip, right? But it's been absolutely fantastic so far. Incredible
good.
Hulk issue 9, Gods issue 5, Star Wars issue 43, Rise of the Powers of X issue 2, Guardians of the Galaxy annual, Spider Boy issue 4, Spider Woman issue 4, Captain Marvel issue 5, Edge of the Spider Verse issue 1, Luke Cage Gang War issue 4, Star Wars Battle World issue 4, The Sentry issue 3, Predator The Last Hunt issue 1, and Alien Black, White, and Blood issue 1.
One little quick note: it's Secret Wars Battle World issue 4. At
Oh, did I
least
just say battle? What did I
you
say?
said Star Wars, so I don't.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes,
You
I
know,
just want to make sure that
it's
people
past
know.
my bedtime, Nicholas.
It
You
is
know, we're
past your
doing this
bedtime.
right.
We're running later than usual. So let's get over to DC then on that note. So we got Nightwing issue 111. So we're not quite at that final, that start of that final arc for Tom Taylor. And as you mentioned, Bruno Redondo, there have been a few different artists on this, but primarily he has been the artist there. Batman, Superman, World's Finest issue 24, Superman issue 11, Titans issue 8, Wonder Woman issue 6, Catwoman 62, Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong issue 5, Green Lantern War Journal issue 6, and then we have a couple of books that you and I want to weigh in on. Would you care to talk about Batman 144?
Yes, I would care to talk about that very much because it is fantastic. So, this is the end of Chip's little mini Joker 3-part
Oh,
series that he sort of he
yeah.
put into the pages of Batman. And I said this last, and this is what's been wild is that it's come out each week, so you really haven't had to wait for it, which has been awesome, absolutely awesome, because you get this really great tight Joker story that I think I put right up there with one of my favorite Joker stories. Period.
Mm,
Tight 3 issues. It's a sort of a different look at why the Joker is the way he is. The training, just how, we like to say around here, in New England, Belichick's playing chess while everyone's playing checkers, right? And we always think about Batman always, being, steps ahead, but the Joker, man, like he was trained to not just be Batman's equal, but to be superior to Batman. And the way Chip is just able to sort of channel that, the way he's able to sort of identify the strengths and weaknesses of both those characters, and just how twisted he can get with it. Excellent. I will find a way to talk about a 3-issue story as a mainline issue, if it kills me,
yeah.
because it was that good.
You can do it. We've done it with some. We've done it. I know I did it once with I think a Matt Kint book, but like that you'll be able to do it here. The
Yeah.
way you've talked about this series, I need to know more about it. And I'm going to be reading it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's fantastic.
That's great. And then on my end, John Constantine, Hellblazer, Dead in America issue 2. We had Cy Spurrier on the show before this story began. Of course, he had written John Constantine previously alongside Aaron Campbell, who is his artist here. And in the first issue, it was a good little like re-entry for people who hadn't read Cy's initial run with John Constantine. It was a nice introduction for them. For us, it had been a while since his previous story had ended, so it was a good reset. Kind of figure out the lay of the land. We see Dream thrown in the mix. We see a Swamp Thing in the mix as well, and just reintroduction to some of the characters. This issue, Constantine is back on his bullshit, and I am so fucking happy about it. I say this all the time, and I'll say it to anybody who likes Constantine or doesn't know about Constantine, needs to know about this character a little more. Anytime he's being an asshole, anytime he is screwing other people over, that is when he is at his best. Like that's a writer who knows how to handle Constantine perfectly. And I'm not talking about screwing over villains necessarily. Sometimes you're going to see his friends, supposed friends, get in trouble too. And I absolutely love it. And then you get a character who says that to John, says pretty much those words to John in this issue, where it's like if you're worried about someone, it's because you already did something shitty to them and you're feeling guilty. I mean, that's like seeing right through Constantine. You know him 100%. Like that's it right there. And we get that in this issue. And we're in New Orleans in this issue. And there's concern about some of the characters that are involved. And we're still dealing with like Dream and Swamp Thing in varying capacities too. So I love all that. And another good line too that I wanted to just mention, not specific to John necessarily, but just a nice line from Side, because he's just such a good writer. No God can bear to be despised. It's like I've like 100%. Like it's perfect, and it's so well put. And when you guys see that line in the course of the story, it's like it's gonna hit even harder, like than just me like sharing it here right now. So awesome stuff from Cy, and again, and Aaron Campbell is like exactly everything you would want in a John Constantine artist too, like 100%. We've talked about that before.
Yeah, he was my favorite artist from the first two volumes. He was primarily the artist in the second volume, but the first volume he had a couple different artists, and the stories that he drew were definitely some of my favorite.
Yeah, he does a great job. But enough about that. What do we got next that's coming out this week?
I'm going to rip through a couple of these here from
Cool.
Skybound. We have Cobra Commander issue 2 and The Walking Dead Deluxe issue 83. Nothing from AWA this week. I'm waiting for the return of Red Light and the debut of Little Black Book down the road. Some more UNI. So they got some stuff cooking. But until then, from Boom this week, we have Animal Pound issue 2, Lotus Land issue 4, Mech Cadets issue 6. There's another book that we got a review copy, but it's not on
League of Comic Geeks.
League of Comic Geeks. It's written by Pornchek Pichotti, but I can't remember the name of it. But it's in the review. It's in the review.
We got
file.
the ash can for it.
Ash,
That's
yes,
what it was.
yeah.
The ash can for it. I forget what the title was.
And then from Dark Horse, we have Space Usagi Death and Honor issue 3 of 3. That was a great little Usagi Yojimbo story that I enjoyed very, very much. And we have Critical Role, The Tales of Exandria Artigan issue 2, and St. John issue 2. From IDW, we have Star Trek issue 17, TMNT Sourcebook issue 1.
The more TMNT news we're getting, by the way, because it feels like we're getting more over these. Like this week, I think I saw like one of the editor of TMNT or something to that degree saying like there's more stuff coming out, and like Jason Aaron's talking about how it's going to get grittier, and then I saw like there's like other like a new villain's going to be introduced and everything. All the news surrounding Jason Aaron's TMNT run, I am totally here for. Couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, real quick, we see Adam Lawson, writer of the Kill Journal, in the chat, talking about Sync. We just got off. We did a great chat with John Lees, Adam, and Alex Cormack about the upcoming Sync and all things Sync, really. So that's something you're gonna want to check out. But man, like Sync, Nick and I, we've talked about this a ton. It's our favorite horror book. It's absolutely fantastic. But to continue on here from IDW, we have Dungeons and Dragons Fortune Finder issue 4, Godzilla Rivals Mothra versus Mogira issue 1, and then from Vault we have Unnatural Order issue 3. Nicholas, take us through the next few.
Yes, by the way, that boom book that you were referencing was
Oh yes,
Man's Best. That's the
yes,
dash can that's out this week. Moving on to Titan, we got Dead by Daylight issue 4, Bitmap issue 3, Forgotten Ruins Wizards Cult issue 2.
Reens.
From 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 Ablaze, we got the Prism, and then the Agent issue 3, which I know you'll be picking that up. From Dynamite, we got James Bond 007 issue 2. Go
So
ahead.
so
You
this is the
wait.
Garth Ennis book,
Yes,
right?
I
So
know.
like Newbury Comics never got never like had the first issue.
Oh
So
shit.
I completely fucking forgot about it.
Damn
And
it.
then I'm going through and I'm like, oh, the because I purchased some books digitally that I couldn't get from Newbury Comics. And so all of a sudden I see this. I'm like, oh shit. Oh fuck. So I went and I bought it. So I meant to have that read for today for my catching up, but I have it. I have it,
Okay,
folks.
good.
So I can't wait to talk about Garth Ennis' take on James Bond because I am so fucking fascinated about him writing James Bond.
I can't wait to hear about it too. Honestly, it's amazing. Also from Dynamite, we got Army of Darkness Forever issue 5. From Mad Cave, we got Skeeters issue 3. From Ahoy, we have Project Cryptid issue 6, which you're still reading that, correct?
Yeah, I got to get caught up a little bit, but yeah, I've been
Okay.
enjoying. An anthology series. It's been fun.
Then from Distillery, we got Blasphemous issue 1. We don't get their review copies yet, but we'll be checking that
And
out.
that's from Mirka Andolfo, I believe.
Ooh,
Yeah.
boy. Okay, all right. And then we round things out as we usually do when we do just what's new. We have Image, quite a few things from them. Of course, this week we got the Scorched issue 27, Firepower issue 30. We do not, and this is also Skybound, we do not get review copies. And of course, this is a finale. I'm not stunned by that at all, but I'm very excited to get a look at this. I have already talked about Firepower at length on this show previously. I cannot wait for the ending here. G.I. Joe issue 304, Tenement issue 9, which you are reading, The Holy Roller issue 4, which I am reading, Knights issue 5, Nightwing, Savage Dragon 268, A Haunted Girl issue 4, which you are reading. Then we got three titles, two for me, one for you. Would you like to start things out?
Yeah, you know what? I'll start things off here with this book. So the Six Fingers issue. So I talked about this last week. The Six Hand, right? Is that what it's called? The
Oh
Six
yeah, the
Fingers. Uh,
why am I blanking on this? This is ridiculous. I mean,
I know, Jesus, it's late, but
I'll get it.
written by Ram V, right? So these two books go figuratively and literally hand in hand, with each other. And so with last week's book with Ram V, you're getting it from the detective's perspective, and you find out he's a detective. He's on the verge of retiring, but just when he thinks he's out, he gets pulled back in because a serial killer, or at least a copycat serial killer, someone that's sort of identify, been the whole purpose of his career has sort of reemerged. And the Six Fingers is from the perspective of said serial killer. The one hand, thank you, Adam. One hand. So the one hand was written by Ron V, and the Six Fingers. And this was excellent. Could do two different story, writers telling the same story from two points of view, two different points of view. I can't recommend this enough. I think this is a wildly entertaining and a wildly unique way to tell a singular story. And having it from both perspectives was absolutely wild. And this issue was fucking excellent. Absolutely excellent. I'm trying to wrestle with the idea of how do I talk about this book, on the
Oh,
show.
boo fucking who! You called
Right.
dibs on this and took both of these titles. Wow,
Right,
poor
right.
thing.
So I think the best way to do it will be just to wait until they've both conclude and then just sort of talk about it as an entire entity,
You
right?
have to.
Versus this book and then that book, right? And
Yeah.
it's so wild, it's so good, it's so well written, it's so well drawn. Like everything about it is absolutely excellent, and I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah, that must be nice. Everybody else can go fucking read it except me. I just gotta collect it right now. That's
Yeah.
some fun stuff. By the way, Adam Lawson is now your co-host. Apparently, he's the one helping you out in
Yeah.
the chat, ignoring my notes. But I
I,
do want to call Adam. We've had on the show previously, and also with the Exile is among the series that he's written. But for
yeah.
those who haven't read Adam's stuff, he co-wrote that with Wesley Snipes. So just a little reason to go, an extra reason to go check out his stuff if you haven't
And
previously.
the
That was
Gifted Rebels, right? Is
Gifted Rebels Company, yes.
yeah.
But that specifically, The Exiled is through Whatnot's publishing arm. I believe it's Massive Publishing, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, you guys can go find that on League of Comic Geeks, and then find your way into picking that up. But the two titles from Image Joe that I wanted to touch on, we have Midlife, or How to Hero at 50, issue 5, which is a Brian Buccellato joint, and Stefano Simone. I've talked about this quite a bit, and in this issue, and this is what I do have dibs on, so I will be talking about it at length on the show at some point down the line. But with this issue, we're finally getting some background information into how Ruben has got to this position that he finds himself in, which quite honestly, I didn't know if we were going to get that, just from the way that, we learn about his abilities and the way it seems that he like how they were passed to him. I didn't know if we were going to get that level of insight, but we did. And I'm glad that we have it. But what's even more important for me in this 5th issue of Midlife is with Ruben, the main character. Like, more than ever in this 5th issue, I find myself appreciating this guy, this character, because like he feels very real. Brian has done a really good job of fleshing this character out and making it seem like, yeah, this is like, if you were middle aged and you got superpowers and you never had them before, and it's like, well, fuck, like, what do I do? This is it right here. And that's that honestly, to me, like, that should be enough reason to go and check this book out.
My superpower would be to be able to sit and not have my fucking back hurt after 30 minutes.
No, wow, jeez, it's you should go see a backcracker about that. I
You know
know
what?
that.
Yeah, the person who normally would do that for me is changed their hours, and so we don't cross paths anymore. So I have to
Ooh,
go make a fucking appointment at some other office now. I'm fucking
ooh,
dying.
that's brutal. I can help out. I
I could
mean,
probably teach you. It's not. It's
I
not
could.
gonna.
Don't ask me to do any of the neck cracking though, man. I don't know how people do that stuff. Ooh, God, that's crazy.
Easy, 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 easy.
Oh my goodness. Okay. The other one that I want to talk about is honestly, like, across the industry, probably the biggest issue that's coming out this week. Spawn issue 350. Of course, Todd McFarlane with Rory McConville, and then Brett Booth is the artist on this, and we've talked a ton about Brett Booth's work over on Gunslinger Spawn, and I mean, he was killing it over there. And then seeing Dexter Soy go into the mix over there, and then now Brett Booth is taking over Spawn here. It's like, I mean, what's not to like in the art department here? It's freaking, and then you have Javier Fernandez. Like, it's just insane. The people who are illustrating Spawn right now, just from a pencil and ink standpoint. So Brett Booth's work here is top notch, as you would expect. And there's one kill in particular here. Again, I'm not getting into spoilers or anything, but it is a fucking banana land kill, like straight out of Mortal Kombat type shit. And it's so fucking awesome, man. But this is like, I'm hoping we continue to get more and more of that from Brett Booth in Spawn. But that's not a surprise if you've seen what he's done in the past, and then especially what you've seen in Gunslinger Spawn. But this actually, I would say that kill is probably next level even for him. So some really, really cool stuff there. And then from like a story standpoint, like, we've been waiting on the who's going to sit on the throne of hell for quite a long time, and we finally, in issue 350 of Spawn, we finally get that answer here. This is all designed to kind of be another good jumping on point for newer readers, kind of like Spawn 300 was as well. But again, like, for me, the biggest thing is just like some of the art, the action sequences that we get from Brett Booth here. Anytime he's illustrating something, I got to check it out. And him on Spawn, anything Spawn, it's like, come on, no brainer for me. So
Right.
that is it for us this week, though. Kept it pretty tight. Look at us, we're a couple of professionals for once.
I
But
mean,
again,
we probably would have kept this under 25 if you didn't fucking pat yourself on the ass for the first 20 minutes.
this is Well, fuck you. I got no good response to that. Honestly, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry. Joe got me, guys. But a quick reminder too: if you haven't already, make sure you go subscribe to one of our audio channels. That can be Apple Podcast, Spotify. I know those are the two primary ones. Actually, I have a cousin who is a comic book reader that didn't realize we were doing the show, and he is now subscribed on Spotify. So hi, Brian. Appreciate it. But again, tell a fellow comic book reader too. It really helps the show. And we're just trying to give you everything you would need in podcast form as a comic book fan. So make sure you go subscribe there because that's the only way you're going to hear our John Lees and Alex Cormack chat that's going to be coming out fairly soon. But other than that, Joe, until next week, stay sexy.
You know it, baby.